Hello, this is Sandy. In this week's video, I wanted to challenge myself to only use one colour to form the basis of an abstract or semi-abstract landscape painting. I've been really enjoying using limited materials or limitations to allow me to free up my art practice and to get more done. So I've been playing around in this Hahnemühle A6 portrait sketchbook, creating semi-abstract landscapes just using two colours. So this week I wanted to challenge myself, can I just form the basis of my painting using just one colour? So I'm going to allow myself to use some other mixed media bits once I've done most of the painting. So what I wanted to do was have a go with these Montmartre Premium Extra Soft Oil Pastels in natural hues. They're really lovely colours. It's a pack of 26 and I haven't used them as much as I'd like. So I wanted to give these a little go as well, maybe at some point in the painting. So these are the Ganzo Tambi graphite colours. They are a set of 6. They're really nice muted colours and they tend to kind of granulate a bit. They're just really, really lovely to use. And I've been a bit addicted to them recently. So I'm just going to do a one colour challenge. And to have a look at what colour I'm going to pick, and just to show you, I thought I would just quickly swatch them out. So I'm going to use this A5 Sea Whites of Brighton watercolour sketchbook just to give these a swatch out, just to show you the colours. So the first one is number 230 and it's called Graphite Red. Really nice, deep, kind of browny, purpley kind of red tone. Really, really nice. I don't know if you can see there, it's got a little bit of granulation already. Just really, really lovely earthy tones. The next one is number 250 Graphite Green. Really nice kind of bluish green. Again, really lovely moody colour. The next one is number 240 called Graphite Yellow. I'm loving this colour. It's so earthy and like a raw colour. It's just really, really nice. I think I'm already feeling that one. Not quite sure why they call it graphite yellow because it looks green, but maybe it's got more of a yellow tinge to it. So the next one is Graphite Blue number 260. I used this in last week's video. I'll link that above when I created some seascapes. I'm just trying to take some pigment off of this one just to vary the colour there, just so you can see what the colour's like. The next one is number 261, Graphite Violet. Really nice, deep, earthy, kind of rustic violet colour. Just trying to take, again, I've just loaded that pigment on, but I just really wanted to give you an accurate kind of view of what the colours look like because they're so lovely. And the last one is number 270, Graphite Brown. Again, another lovely, muted, but really earthy brown colour. Just trying to show you, give you a really good impression of what those colours are like. So after my swatches, I decided to choose the Graphite Yellow as the one colour watercolour that I'm going to use to form the basis of my painting. I'll then go in and I can use any mixed media I want, really. It's just to get started. It's just a good way of forcing yourself to pick one thing and get going. And once you've got going, that's half the battle, isn't it? And then you're free to play around. So I'm just going in with some water. I'm going to go wet on wet and then just see what effects the watercolours will create, really. I want this to be really experimental, playful and fun. So I'm now going in with the pigment and just blotting that in and letting the watercolour work its magic and, you know, just see what fun effects we create, really. I just want it to be, I just love art that's intuitive and surprising and fun. I don't like planning things too much, and when I'm trying to copy a photo or something like that, I tend to just get really tight and boring, and I don't experiment because I get caught up in things wanting things to look like what they look like, and that's not how I like to paint. I like to be surprised. I like to have fun with materials, and I like to be quick and spontaneous. So that's why I have gone for this challenge. So when I put the pigment down, I've just given it a little spritz to let the watercolour flow, and now I'm just going in and trying to make start of my landscape really. I'm just going in and using that pigment to try and make a sky and a bit of a background really. Just going in with some water and just trying to make a sky really, and just seeing where we end up. So I'm now just moving the pigment around, trying to make it look like fluffy clouds, or just to give it a sense of an atmospheric, moody grey sky. So I've let what I've done there dry, and I'm just going to peel off that horizon line tape, and I'm just going in with just water, and I'm just trying to ease on that harsh horizontal line there just to soften it a little bit, as it was looking a bit too straight. I was just trying to blend that in a little bit more with the background just to soften it. So I'm now going in with just water, and I'm just trying to put some water down to see what happens to work wet and wet, so I can put my pigment down and just let the watercolor do its thing. I really enjoy doing that. I don't want to control it too much. I just want to work intuitively and see where the painting wants to go, and just to work with that. Get that nice surprise, almost like, surprise landscape, like a mystical place that you've never been that just appears on the page. I really love working that way because it's just that sense of surprise. So really now I'm just working on creating a composition that I'm happy with, just playing around, seeing where the painting is taking me, and just trying to work with getting value right. I find that just using one or two paints is a really good way of practicing value, because you have to get that contrast right for the painting to work. And I'm really enjoying just trying to play with value and composition to try and get the piece where I want it to be. So I have let this dry, and I'm kind of seeing a way forward now. I'm seeing that on that left-hand side, there's a bit of blank space where I'm thinking I might add a nice tree in there, and then I can just add a really nice darker value in that tree area just to give a focal point. So I'm going to go wet on wet, and I'm just plotting in with water just where I think that tree foliage should go, and just really intuitively just kind of trying to plot in a bit of a tree really. So as this is watercolor, I'm going to have to work in layers to get the opacity that I want, or the value that I want. So I'm just letting that first layer dry, and I'm going in with a graphite pencil. They're Derwent graphite pencils in cool brown, and I'm just trying to plot in a loose trunk for the moment. These are water soluble. They work really, really nicely with the Ganzo Tambi graphite colors. So I just thought they'd be a nice companion for this piece. And I'm just trying to plot in some, give the tree a bit of structure. I can always paint over it if I don't like it. They're water soluble. I'm just trying to plot in a basic tree shape, just playing around really, just trying to create a nice composition and trying to give a focal point to this landscape. So I've added some more pigment to the foliage in the tree just to darken that value a bit, to give it some contrast and to bring it out as the focal point a bit more. I've also gone in with a graphitint cool brown pencil. I've added a bit more detail to the landscape with that just to give some more detail. I've also gone over the tree stump to solidify that a bit more, and I've come down into the roots around the tree just to ground that in a little bit. I'm also going in into the background and just adding trees in there, or the impression of just some trees, just giving that a little bit more detail. And I'm now just going in to activate the pencil just to bring out that landscape in the background a little bit more. So I've let the piece dry once again, and I can now see another way forward, or how I would like to progress the piece. I can see behind the tree area, there's a lighter value area, which kind of looks like it might be nice to place a little bit of water, like a stream, or maybe to indicate like a river or a stream, that kind of thing. So I've grabbed the Montmartre oil pastels, and I have picked a couple of blues that I liked the look of. So I've gone with the blue grey and eggshell blue, and I'm just testing them out on my Hannah Mule sketchbook. I just wanted to see which one I thought would go nicely with the colours that are in the piece. As I've only used one colour for the majority of this, I didn't want this to look odd or stand out or look, just look like it didn't fit the piece. So I just wanted to test them out really. And I think that the blue grey would go quite nicely. So I'm just going to test that out. I'm just going to go for it, just going to experiment and play around really. That's what this exercise is for, to free me up to experiment and play around with landscapes. So I'm just going in and I'm just trying to block in that river that I can see in the piece and just trying to bring that to life really. So I've gone over it a few times with the same colour, the grey blue, and it's looking a bit dull and also a bit too bright. So I'm just going to try some white and go over the area of water and just see if the white makes it a little bit more subtle and fit in with the piece more, because I feel like it's a bit too prominent at the moment and I would like my tree to really be the focal point. So I'm just trying to tone that down a little bit and just to give a bit of variation and value. So I was faffing around way too long with that river, so I've just decided to leave it as it is. This is supposed to be a quick exercise, not an exercise in faffing around. So I've got that to a place where I'm happy with that. I'm now just going in with a green graphite tint pencil. It is slate green, and I'm just trying to bring out a bit more detail in the landscape. I'm putting in some details that, just indicate a little bit of grass really, and trying to bring out a bit more colour in the foreground and a bit more detail as well. Also just trying to give a bit more detail to the right hand side where it looks like a little bit of a hill by the river. So I'm now just going in and trying to soften that line in the background. There was like a harsh line of pen or pencil, sorry. It was the cool brown graphite tint. I'm just activating that with water and softening that area in the background. Just trying to push it back into the background really. So now I'm done. I'm just going to remove the tape and see how the piece looks. So here's what we have. Pretty happy with this for an experiment. The landscape in the foreground by the hilly bit, I'm not 100% on, but I just went with what I saw, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Just experimenting, playing around with what you see, bringing your visions to life, and that's how you create your own style, and that's how you discover things. So I'm just going in with a white jelly pen, and I'm just trying to add a little bit of highlight to the tree trunk area, just trying to add a bit more value contrast in there, just trying to add some areas of light. The pen is a little bit knackered. The gel wasn't really coming out very well, but it was enough to just add a little bit of detail. I also added just a little detail of like an impression of little birds in the sky. Sorry, I didn't catch that on camera. So my camera keeps turning itself off because it overheats and I'm not aware of it because I'm in the moment and I need to get better at that. So apologies about that. I also added a little bit of more of the blue to the sky just so that the sky was a little bit more in harmony with the blue that was in the river. And that's basically all I did. And I'm still desperately trying to bring out the white gel from the pen to add a bit more detail into the tree, but it's not happening. So I think that's where I'm going to leave things today. So just to sum up, limiting your materials, just starting off with one or two colours is a really good way of getting started, especially if you're someone like me who can get a bit stuck on what materials I want to use. I'm always wanting to play around with oil pastels, acrylic paint, watercolour paint, gouache, all of the stuff. And sometimes you just end up getting nowhere and not doing anything. So limiting your materials is a really good way of just getting started really. I mean, you don't have to stick with just one color. You can then, once you started and once you get going, that's half the battle, isn't it? So this is just a really good way of just allowing you to get started and a good way of loosening up and practicing with materials and practicing those composition and value studies, really. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope to catch you on the next video. Have a great week. Bye.